I've heard for the past few days a couple of things. The first one is a disconnect between students and teachers. Some may explain it because of the generation gap. A disconnect not only due to a generation gap, but sometimes because of the way students are taught, or the methodologies, the means that are used to teach. What you have behind me is the impact that some of the ways educators teach today can have on some students. Students, they have access to a lot of content on the web, video, information. Nowadays, within 5 minutes, they can know whether they're going to be paying attention or not during the lecture. My name is Marc-Alexis Remond. I'm from Polycom, and I'll be sharing with you some of the best practices used in areas of education using interactivity, rich content, sometimes spectacular content to keep students and teachers attentive during those sessions. Distance learning is one way of doing it, but there are different technologies, different methodologies. It's all about focusing on the pedagogy, the technology, and obviously the system overall to make sure that students who are not physically on site are able to learn and interact. Distance learning is not only applicable to educators for degree program. It's also applicable in areas of vocational training, government training, as well as professional training. In fact, in China, they are making sure that those 4 elements are working together, leveraging best practices to enhance and improve the experience of distance learning. So why some distance learning programs fail? Sometimes it's only because of one-way communication. The way people teach or give lectures is more like broadcasting. I am a speaker and I speak to a lot of people. There's not much interaction involved. Sometimes it's about the content. The content is not relevant to the particular audience. It can be the technology, the network, the quality, the experience, teaching style. Teaching in a classroom versus teaching in a distance environment requires a different way of doing it. So if teachers today are used to teach in a classroom, if they need to do distance education, their style may be adapted to that particular format of education. Resistance to change is sometimes one of the elements as well. So in China, what they do is have this kind of puzzle, all the pieces put together. As you can see, there need to be some sort of leadership with a centralized management, centralized decision to make those programs possible across the entire country, across provinces and cities. The goals must be understood by everybody, from the teachers, educators to students. But of course, they take a very holistic approach for their program, making sure that the content and the ways they're doing it are in line with some of the social trends and the competencies or the skills of the students. All of this is possible through a blend of different technologies and, of course, thanks to a network that connects different individuals. Now, a lot of people argue between, classroom learning versus distance learning and, in fact, self-paced learning. So, of course, in a classroom environment, you have one instructor and a couple of students. If we do self-paced learning by putting a lot of content on the web, there is no need for an instructor per se, and we can reach out to millions of students eventually. But there is something in between. which is called video conferencing. Video conferencing and live instruction with two-way video, which in fact is a very good compromise between classroom style and self-paced learning. And today, distance learning can take different shapes and forms. It can be a very immersive experience, meaning students sitting in a room, which is somehow cut in half, being able to look at each other in the eye. Or it can be used on a laptop computer or even taken in the field, whereby we have possible video conferencing cards to be taken in the hospital environment, but also in any areas that requires connectivity. And about 9 times the quality of standard video conferencing. So there are different applications that are used, different resolution, depending on what you want to do, whether it's an internal meeting or whether you want to use it in the medical environment, where life sciences applications are available. I won't go into details in the interest of time at this point. I'll just show you how it is used. For instance, in the UK, whereby a surgeon is able to do an open heart surgery live, and students, as you can see, can attend to this procedure live while visualizing what the surgeon is doing and have access to the ultrasounds, vital signs, and all the medical information they require. Now, of course, a surgery can go well or can go wrong. It can last 1 hour up to 6 or 8 hours, depending on the procedure. All of this can be recorded and made available to those students who couldn't make it for that particular session. But this is really where high definition capabilities can really be beneficial to students regardless of their location. Interactivity is the key. What you have in front of you is a presenter from QuestNet in Australia being in front of a green screen. This is a similar technology to what is used for the Weather Channel, the Meteo, right? So this presenter can be immersed within the environment he's talking about. In this particular case, this presenter is talking about the galaxy system to primary and secondary school students. Because it's a two-way video experience in high definitions, all students are able to, in fact, interact in real time with that particular presenter. And because it's not the standard roundtable conference room environment or classroom environment, the retention, in fact, is much higher from the student side. Not only educators or teachers can utilize that new type of technology, but also students. Imagine if students were able to present their science or technology projects over video conferencing, because there is a national competition going on. This can be done as well through video conferencing and telepresence solutions. And it is done in Australia, in fact. Very often, having access to the speakers or making sure that this particular expert is able to share the knowledge requires to cover large audiences like this one. So not only video conferencing can be used for classroom style kind of education, but also for much larger audiences, as you can see. What about music and arts? What you have in front of you is the Manhattan School of Music in New York that in fact has developed a global campus to teach music for live performances and arts, leveraging video conferencing as a technology to do so. So today, they can give tuition to students all around the world or perform through this mean all around the world. But of course, all this knowledge, all this content, whether we're talking about science, technology, or arts, needs to be able to be recorded, archived, stored, organized, and be accessible to all of the students from anywhere, anytime. So of course, there are other solutions there to support the video conferencing application. This is my last slide, just to tell you that what Polycom is doing in order to connect this knowledge. We have a social network of people using video conferencing technologies around the world that can be accessed. It's called Collaboration Around the Planet. There is already content available, about 3,000 topics from content providers made available through Polycom, and all of this can be accessible through video conferencing. The last program is called E2B, Education to Business. It's a kind of directory whereby universities can in fact be in touch with private organizations for research, for hiring of students, education, internship, and so on and so forth. So, if you remember one thing from my session, a very short one in fact, is that video conferencing or delivering a tuition video conference through video conferencing can in fact be as interactive or even more interactive than a classroom session. Why? Because we leverage a lot of content, multimedia content. There is the interactivity piece between the educators and the students. And study shows that the retention is even much higher. And again, as I mentioned, this content can be recorded, archived, stored, and made available to students regardless of their location. Thank you for your attention.